Hello and welcome to another episode of a Brothers Creed podcast. We're talking about motivation, experiences, and exploring the world around us. We're the Thomas Brothers. I'm Ethan.
And I'm Jared. Today we be with Owen Kennedy, who is an underground mine explorer. You may know him from Kennedy Underground on TikTok and Instagram and also YouTube. He's a young man who goes and explores mines all over the place, mostly in the Nevada desert. But we talked to him about lots of different things today, about his different mine experiences, some of the cool stuff he's found, some of the cool places he's explored, and it's a really great episode. So we're excited to have him on and to kind of pick his brain about adventuring out in the desert. So let's go ahead and dive into this episode.
All right, let's do it.
Spartans! What is your profession?
Any man who must say, I am the king, is no true king.
What I do have are a very particular set of skills. Skills that make me a nightmare.
If I can change, and you can change, everybody can change!
Let us all unite! Let us fight for a new world! A decent world!
All right, Owen Kennedy, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Excellent. Owen, I stumbled across some of your videos, your insane mine videos on TikTok, I think Instagram too, and I was just, when I was in college, I went to school in Idaho, and there's a lot of old mines in Idaho. And Ethan and I, one time, we went out to an old mine called Skull. It was in a place called Skull Canyon, and we went down this mine, and there was one of those old ladders that just went down into the abyss. And I was like, man, no way in heck would I go down that old ladder from the 1800s. And then I watched your videos, and you guys are just like going down those ladders.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, man, those guys got some cojones going down all that old stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy it a lot, but I definitely do have my boundaries. But I mean, we'll bring our ropes, we'll bring safety precautions, we'll make sure we have everything before we go. Always go in teams, so just try to make sure everything's as safe as possible.
Yeah.
So how did you get into exploring mines? I mean, it's kind of something that probably all over the United States, at least, or all over the world, there's probably tons of abandoned mines that are just kind of open. I mean, how did you get into it, and how do you find them?
Yeah, so my dad is actually a hockey coach, and so we move around all the time. I've probably been to 6 or 7 different schools. And I was lucky enough to enter high school in Las Vegas. And so I was there for all throughout high school. And in sophomore year, we finally my friends and I kind of all got our driver's license. And a couple of them got some Jeeps. So we would always go out on the trails and kind of bomb around on those trails, and we'd stumble upon these mines in the ground. And at first, I really had no idea of like what they were. Mm-hmm. And so we got our phone lights out. We brought some waters. We kind of just poked our heads in a bit, and we didn't really know much. But my interest and curiosity kind of just took off from there, and been exploring ever since. It's been 4 years.
Awesome. That's there's so many mines out in the West. Are you still in the Las Vegas area?
So I'm in Canada for the summer, actually. My dad lives up in Canada.
Okay.
So I go back there during school year.
Okay.
So I'll be back down there in just half a month.
Any old mines in Canada?
There actually are. So I'm in Calgary right now. But the mines are kind of more to the west of me. So the Rockies are just about an hour west of me. And there's a lot of coal mines. But once you get into the interior, British Columbia, there's a lot of silver mines. But I've yet to get out there. I really wish I could, but I've been pretty busy this summer.
Cool.
So
do you just look these up online, or do you kind of like talk to people? Or are they off the beaten path, or maybe they're more marked?
Yeah, so it's actually a lot of Google Earth research. So I'll kind of go through the history, ghost towns, figure out where those ghost towns are, and then I'll just kind of scour the area on Google Earth, and then find these waste rock piles, which are pretty apparent on the satellite images. So
you just walk around some of those canyons, and you can see all the rock piles out of those mines, and you're like, oh, that's the opening right there.
Yep. That's how we find some of them. Like I said, with our Jeeps, we would just kind of stumble upon them, and I eventually kind of learned to kind of scour the internet, lots of rabbit holes.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of people like to document their mines on their website, and I'll just kind of find their website and kind of go through them, ask them questions, and lots of learning from there. So
awesome. Now, you've been doing this for, you said, like about 4 years, and you've gone into many different mines. Well, let me ask this first. What do your parents think about you doing this?
I tell them a lot. I show them all my cool pictures that I get, but they don't really like me going into detail about what I do.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I'm sure that you tell them exactly what mine you're going to and all this kind of stuff before you go out, just in case something were to happen. So, in the mines that I've been in, which is a handful, I actually went to, and I lived in Mexico for 2 years, and I was in this place called Guanajuato. Guanajuato is the city of Guanajuato. And this place it's very, very old. It's where the second Mexican Revolution, actually the first Mexican Revolution happened. And there's mines all over the place. The whole town has the gold mines everywhere. And there's a university there where people will go and they'll learn the craft of mining. And some of these guys I would talk to, they would go in the mines and they'd find, people from the, Spaniards, like old, like Inquisition, Spanish Inquisition, like Spaniards, and like they'd find rings and stuff in these mines. And I'm like, man, that would be so cool. So, but you can get lost very easily in there. And also, there can be toxic fumes and stuff. So have you ever gotten turned around in one of these mines or felt like the air is bad in here, we need to turn around?
So we actually bring a little O2 monitor with us. It just takes a couple AA batteries. We just leave it on when we go. But I mean, I've been to probably hundreds of mines, and in the desert, the miners kind of engineered these mines in a way where the air can kind of naturally flow through. And so out of all the mines I've been through, the thing has probably only went off maybe once or twice.
Oh, really?
So yeah,
it's not too bad. It's a little canary in the coal mine for you guys.
Yeah, we don't do much coal mines. We do a lot of silver and gold mines.
Okay.
So yeah.
You ever like find any minerals or anything like that when you're in these things?
Yeah. I have a friend who, his name is Jareth, and he has a YouTube, and we've gone in a couple times to the mines, and he's brought his little chisel and pickaxe.
Yeah.
And he'll find some galena in the walls, and he'll actually chisel it out and bring some samples out, and it's pretty cool. It's really heavy.
Oh wow.
So
you have
tell
to,
when you got something.
in order to get kind of, I guess, silver out of galena, you really have to like break it down. There's a whole process to it. So it's not like you're, I guess, finding silver on the ground, but refined silver. But, in these mines, I know there's probably lots of places that are pretty open and big, and they might even have like some tracks and stuff from the coal carts or not coal, or, the ore carts or whatever. Do you ever get to places where it gets more cramped and you kind of have to crawl through things to get to different areas, or do you guys kind of stick to the bigger open areas?
Oh, we do everything. Actually, my favorite thing is kind of going through those small little areas, because you never really know what's waiting behind that corner, right? Like many people will turn around at that spot, and they might miss something pretty cool. So my favorite is getting up in those tight areas and squeaking through, finding something probably pretty cool.
Oh man, that makes me nervous. Did you hear the story about that guy that got caught in that cave near like Provo, Utah, called Muddy Putty, I think it was, or something like that?
Yeah.
Man, that was an absolute nightmare. What happened to that guy?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I have my boundaries.
Yeah.
So
maybe he was pushing it a little too
Oh
hard.
yeah,
he might have been.
He had to like exhale all of his breath so he could get through this area, and then he got stuck. It's like, if you're having to get that tight of a squeeze, man, it's like time to turn around.
Yeah. But the thing is, these miners used to work in these areas, right? So they wouldn't really kind of make an area so small like that where you can't really work in. So everything is pretty much a lot of walking. There will be some areas where you gotta army crawl through, but it's relatively not that bad.
What's one of the oldest mines you've been in?
Yeah. So there's this mine pretty close to Vegas actually called the Potosi mine, and it's Nevada's oldest lode mine. So it started by Mormons in the 1860s, and it was a silver mine, and this mine is absolutely enormous. I've been there, I think 4 times, spent maybe 6 hours in there total. Still haven't seen everything. Like it's pretty crazy. Yeah.
Are these mines on kind of public land or private land?
Yeah. So Nevada is actually 65% BLM land, which is government land. And so, I mean, you can camp, you can drive, you can walk, you can hike, you can kind of do whatever you want on this land. So a lot of these mines fall on that land, and we can kind of just wander and explore and kind of do whatever we want. So
that's one of the things I love about the West is it's just there's more space and freedom to kind of do stuff. When Jared and I are on the East Coast and maybe a little more cooped up as far as government land goes. But
I lived in Salt Lake City for a while, then I lived in Boise for a while, and definitely enjoyed the BLM land out there. It was always so much fun to explore. You talked about getting into these small spaces and like exploring places people maybe have never been in before. I'm curious, like what kind of stuff have you found or maybe pulled out of some of these mines? I remember one story once where a guy pulled out an old Levi's, old pair of jeans, and he sold it for like $1 million or something. Have you ever found anything cool? I mean, I think you found some dynamite, some different things based off of your Instagram, but would love to hear those stories.
Personally, my favorite thing to find are rolling ore cars. So these are ore cars they still have wheels on, they're still on the track, and it's really fun because you can actually push your friends around them around the mine. Nice. So we have some pretty cool video of pushing those cars around. So that's probably my favorite thing to find. But kind of more rare things to find are like shovels and pickaxes. Over the years, those things kind of people kind of take them, and there's really not much left. But if you get to the right spot, you can find some pretty good stuff. I once found a pickaxe and like 4 dynamite boxes kind of all in this one little area, and made for a super cool kind of photo shoot. So
cool.
It was really awesome.
Was there dynamite in the dynamite box, or was it just the boxes?
So I've actually, the dynamite's kind of all scattered around the mine. So you'll find them, like on the ground, kind of under a piece of wood.
Oh, geez.
So
that's like
it can be pretty unstable, right?
Yeah. So when they're leaking nitroglycerin, they're pretty unstable. But we make sure to watch where we step. If we're kind of looking for artifacts under pieces, we always slowly pick up everything, place it down neatly. But we found lots of dynamite just kind of laying around. And sometimes you'll still see the dynamite actually in the drill holes where they're going to blast. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah.
Have you found any like old newspapers or in notes or anything like that?
Oh, a lot. This one newspaper I found was from World War I, and it was actually talking about all the U.S. casualties that have happened in the war. So I think it said like 3,600 total infected by like a gun wound or a sickness or something like that. And we found a lot of newspapers actually. The oldest one I found is from 1905.
Do you frame these, or I mean, I'm sure you got like a wall of memorabilia on your house somewhere?
Yeah. We try not to take a lot of things. We kind of live by the rule, only leave footsteps. But there are some things where we're just like, oh, that's a pretty old date. You can make out a lot of the article, and so we'll take a lot of pictures. We'll take some of them, and we have a nice big frame that we have. Yeah, all those articles.
That's so cool. And I mean, it's just going to rot away into nothing in the cave anyway. Something like
exactly.
Something like that,
Yeah, I'm sure they're safe on the wall.
I'm sure photography kind of comes in hand a lot of times too, because there's things you don't want to touch, you don't want to take, you want to leave there that are, beautiful or historical or part of whatever. So you just take pictures of them. I know that you are into photography as well, and that hobby is kind of continuing to grow. What are some of the favorite kind of pictures that you've gotten? I'm sure some of these mines are in places just where the landscape is beautiful before you even get into the mine. What are some of the favorite pictures you've taken?
So recently, actually, last month I was in Colorado, and the Colorado mountains are just absolutely insane. I mean, it looks like a different country.
Yeah.
And so the photos up there are pretty unreal. But inside the mine, we actually found 10 rolling ore cars in there. So that was by far the most I've ever seen. And my favorite pictures personally are taking photos of those ore cars because of just how vintage they look. Well, the rustic metal makes for like really good photo.
That's awesome. And you said right before the call that you take most of your photos with your iPhone. Is that right?
As of right now, yeah. So I'm really itching to get back down south to use my nice new camera that I just got. So super excited for that.
That's cool. Now, go ahead, Ethan.
I was just gonna say, make sure you're posting those so we can see it.
Oh, definitely. Everything's going up. Everything.
So have you talked about you guys are super cautious, not stepping on dynamite or doing your best not to do that. How do you avoid from getting lost in the caves?
Yeah. So for us, I mean, for someone who's kind of understands the mines, and we carry plenty of light. So our lights are super bright. We're able to pick up lots of details in the mine. And so we're always kind of able to remember where we are. We're always able to remember what we've seen, where we've been, what tunnels we haven't been in. So we don't really get lost. We kind of always know the way back.
You don't leave any glow sticks or anything along the way as breadcrumbs or something?
I've seen a lot of that in the mines where people leave things. But no, we don't need to, honestly. So
have you seen the movie The Descent?
I haven't actually. Oh, well. I get a lot of comments.
You probably shouldn't.
I kind of have an idea of what it is, and it is what it is. I love what I do, so
that's cool. No, I totally understand. Well, it's just a crazy movie where they get lost and they run out of light, of course, and there's like monsters in the cave or whatever.
Oh yeah.
But have you guys ever had any accidents or falls within the mines?
Pretty close. Yep. So we were in the middle of Nevada, pretty far from any kind of civilization.
Yeah.
So we were pretty deep in this mine, and I think we had a large group. There was like 8 of us in there, and we were kind of walking around, and we found this super deep hole, super wide. It was maybe 80 feet, like a 80 feet diameter, like it was a huge circle in the ground. And we were kind of looking in and kind of leaning over, but there was this kind of old square set timber in front, and we were kind of leaning on it a little bit. And so it actually ended up falling down. We were able to take a step back. I mean, you don't really need to have like a fast reaction because it's so huge. You can kind of hear it before it goes.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's like 800 pounds of wood coming down. It was super loud. Everyone kind of freaked out for a second.
And it fell all the way down into the hole?
Yeah, it fell all the way down. Yeah.
Into the abyss?
Into the abyss. That's what we called it, actually, yeah.
Did you hear it at the bottom, or did it just keep going?
Oh, no, yeah, we heard it. I mean, in the moment, I kind of had an adrenaline rush. We all did. So it's kind of hard to remember what we heard because we were kind of so freaked out from it. But no, that was pretty freaky. That was probably the sketchiest thing that's ever happened to us.
That reminds me of what was that scene in the Lord of the Rings when they're in the mines of Moria, and he drops that thing down the well and it falls all the way down.
Exactly.
It wakes up everybody. And he's like, "You idiot!"
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. Well, glad nobody fell in, by the way.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm glad too.
So one of the things that you showed us that was just really, really interesting, I thought was really cool, is kind of like a 3D scan, or kind of like a Matterport scan of the inside of one of these mines, and you actually mapped it out. And we'll put the link on our description so you guys can go look at it. But it is really cool. I mean, you can kind of walk through, talk to us a little bit about that process and how that, what that's all about.
Yeah, so one of my buddy's dads actually has one of these cameras kind of just laying around, and we were kind of curious what we could do with it. So we actually took it to an abandoned mine, and we kind of went through it and scanned it, and we're like, wow, this is like really cool. It maps it out totally one to one. Like a lot of these people actually just kind of draw and kind of map out these mines, but this one is like totally accurate.
Mm-hmm.
The camera knows exactly where it is, and so it's actually super cool because we were underground for maybe 10 hours total scanning this mine.
Yeah.
And it went through 3 different levels, and you can actually see with the Matterport, you can see exactly like where the branches go out and how deep it goes, and all the declines, inclines. It shows like everything, and so it's just super cool. And a lot of people have really enjoyed it from what I've heard. So
Oh yeah,
it's
I checked it out, and it's really cool.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
you're there whenever you walk through, and you can kind of, zoom in or zoom out and get the
yeah,
like that full level view of what it looks like in the ground, and then go
Yeah.
into the actual mine. It's really cool.
yeah, and you can actually put on the VR goggles, and it's like you're pretty much there. Like
Oh,
it's yeah.
That was quite the effort to do that. I mean, I know people that do that for like real estate. I mean, heck, you can do that for a living, but mapping out this mine, that's pretty cool. And you got this on your on a website, right?
Yeah, it's vrmines.com. Yeah,
Cool.
it's on there.
And how many mines have you mapped? Is it just the one, or?
So just the one. So I actually scanned that mine just before I left up to Canada. So I'm hoping by the end of this year I can get maybe 3 or 4 more mine scans.
What do you think the future of that is? I mean, could this be used for kind of exploration, or people that are interested, or people that want to go check out these mines? They can look at it before they go, or what's the future of that?
Yeah, so as of right now, I'm just thinking, get all these scans out as quickly as possible, because people really like them. Different mines, people like exploring kind of different areas of the United States, and it's cool for them to learn, because I put little tags on it actually, so you can actually kind of learn about what things are in the mine. And so yeah, I've gotten actually a lot of comments on Instagram where I should be implementing these scans into like video games. So I personally have no knowledge of putting anything into a video game, but I'm sure other people do. Just gotta wait for someone to come around that knows a little bit more than I do, and we could probably implement it into some video game or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you take it to like a national park or something like that, and talk to them and say, hey, can I, are there any mines in the park that I can go explore? And I'll do this Matterport scan of them, and then you can put a link on your website that links back to the mine or something like that. I
Totally.
think it's really cool, all the stuff you can do with that.
Yeah, there's lots of mine owners around too, and kind of in our little community of mine explorers, there's a lot of claim owners, and I haven't really gotten there yet, but I'll be reaching out to everyone who wants a mine scan, and I'll scan their mine for them. I'm sure they'll love it. So
That's cool.
yeah,
That'd be awesome if you could get government contracts to go in and scan mines.
yeah, totally.
You could enjoy, do your hobby, which is exploring mines, and potentially make money doing it. I don't know a better job.
I know. We're just getting started too, so I have no idea where it could go. I mean, it could go pretty amazingly, so super exciting.
That's awesome. Now, one of the questions that I'm dying to ask you is, you said you've explored over hundreds of mines. Have you ever been in any mines? I mean, people have likely died in some of these mines. Have you ever experienced anything that was weird or creepy, or if you ever get really creeped out in any of these mines?
So I am not a huge believer in kind of that paranormal stuff. So, I mean, I might have heard some things in these mines before where some people would have gotten really freaked out. But my brain just kind of dismisses everything. It could be just some little crack or whatever, something. But when I was actually in Colorado, the mine in there is very wet. There's lots of drips. And when I was inside there, those drips like really, really sounded like voices. And it was actually pretty creepy. Like it sounded like someone was deep in the mine just talking like in a conversation.
Oh, really?
So that was something like it was me and my other buddy that were in there, and we were just standing there like what was that? Like it was pretty creepy, but
Yeah.
I'm not a huge believer in that stuff, but I've had some other exploring buddies who have picked up actually on recording some kind of weird sounds in their video. I'll have to link that maybe at the end.
No way. There's a YouTuber that I've seen a couple of his videos. He explores mines as well, and there's some crazy ones where he's out and just by himself in a mine in the middle of the night, and there's all these voices and all this kind of stuff. Or there's one where he's like going into a mine. There's a bunch of chains hanging from the ceiling. I don't know if you've seen this one.
Yeah.
And like one of the chains just starts swinging. I'm like, oh man, I'd be out of there so fast.
Yeah. I know. I've seen that video before. That was pretty weird. What was in that video?
First off, I wouldn't go in by myself.
Yeah,
and
yeah, totally. Well, I guess probably I'd be more worried. Well, I'd be freaked out to hear something creepy or a ghost or something like that. But I would be more freaked out to come upon somebody living or in that mine, or like some kind of crazy homeless person or something,
Yeah. So near the Mexican border, actually, there's a lot of migrants that'll actually use these mines as shelters. And so I've seen a couple of videos of these mines just completely trashed with garbage and everything, and people were actually kind of camping out in them. And kind of weird. I've never seen anything like that because I kind of explore Nevada, which isn't really that close to the border.
Yeah.
So I've never actually seen anyone else in the mines before. But I've seen some animals. One of the coolest animals I actually saw was a kit fox.
Oh.
And this kit fox, we were kind of on a ledge, like 20 feet up, and we were kind of looking down at this little fox down there. And he was just kind of walking around, kind of looking at us, almost like he was a dog or something. It was really weird. He seemed very docile. And I actually was able to get video of him kind of just wandering around. And he just kind of laid down. It was pretty cute.
That is cool.
It was pretty cool.
At least you were up on a ledge and you were looking down and it wasn't like running past you,
Yeah, totally. Yeah, he was
creeped up behind you or something like that.
Oh, jeez.
So what kind of equipment do you take with you when you go into these mines? You said you've been in some of these mines for hours on end. What do you typically take with you?
Yep. So we'll bring a big backpack of snacks and waters. Personally, myself, I always have 4 or 5 different flashlights on me. And I always make sure, obviously, they're fully charged before we go in. We'll wear our hard hats. I'll bring my rope, all my rigging equipment if I want to descend down anything. And so we'll have the O2 sensor kind of just turned on, kind of in the side pocket, just so it can kind of breathe, because the bad air actually sits closer to the ground. So we'll kind of leave that lower to the ground if it picks up anything. But lots of water, some snacks, lots of light. You don't want to run out of light. That's like the worst nightmare.
That's your lifeline.
Is there a certain type of light that you like more than others, or?
Yeah, so I have an affiliate with Phoenix Light, and so they make very, very good high quality headlights. So I'll strap that onto the top of my hard hat, and the thing has 1600 lumens, and I think it lasts like 4 hours. So It also has a really good floodlight option. So it's really, really good for taking those pictures that I take. So
awesome. That's cool. I've seen some of these. Have you ever brought into the mines, those giant flashlights that are like,
yes,
30, like unbelievable amount of 100,000 lumens,
we have one of them. Yep. we call it the power of the sun in your hand. So the thing is 32,000 lumens.
Oh my gosh.
And it just, I mean, the abyss that we talked about before, we're actually able to light up that entire area.
Oh wow.
And with this light, I mean, it's just amazing. It's literally the sun in your hand. Like, it's crazy. So that thing's a beast, but it also heats up pretty quickly, so you don't want to leave that thing on for too long.
Because the sun will burn your hand.
Well, it'll burn a lot of things, actually.
Or your backpack when you put it back in your backpack.
Exactly. That's, yeah. We've had couple incidents of that.
I think I've seen people like boil water on the end of it. These are for like camping and stuff. I'm sure that kills the battery real quick.
Yeah. These things take days to charge too. Like,
wow,
they're beasts. Yeah.
What's one piece of equipment that you've recently came upon, like, oh, this is something that I have to have now? I mean, obviously lights, right? But is there anything other interesting?
Right now I'm really in the market for looking for some really good hiking boots. So after we're underground for a while, my toes really get crunched in my shoes.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of looking for something with a little bit of padding in the front. Haven't really found anything yet, but we'll see.
Yeah.
So new shoes are definitely due. But everything else is pretty good right now.
Cool.
List is pretty much completed for what I kind of really need.
Yeah. You ever consider, those like athletic work boot, like they're like athletic tennis shoes almost, but they're like work boots. They have a steel toe. But they're really comfortable, like kind of, they look like just regular tennis shoes, but they are for like working and doing stuff like that. So maybe that might be an option. It's supposed to be comfortable.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm really, I really need something.
Maybe look into something like that. Well, it might not prevent you from rolling your ankle, but or stepping on dynamite. But hey, it might help your feet better.
Totally. Yeah. Nothing will help that dynamite.
Yeah.
One time actually, we found a blasting cap in a mine, and so the blasting caps are basically small little charges that'll blow up the dynamite. And so we kind of didn't really know how strong these things were. So we took it out of the mine, we brought it back to our campsite, and we had a fire going. So we just tossed it in the fire, see what would happen. We all backed up, and wow, that thing blew up like just like a shotgun. Sounded like a shotgun. Super loud. It kind of blew out shards of charcoal. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Yeah.
I could blow off a finger.
Oh, definitely could.
Yeah, oh, man. Yeah. That's crazy. So tell me about your team. It sounds like you got a mix of different guys you go out with. Are these just buddies, or do you usually go with the same guys, or tell us about that?
Yeah. So half of them are probably half of them are my high school buddies. So they're the guys that as soon as they got their license, they got the Jeeps. And so we would all kind of go out on the weekends and go explore. So I'm still in touch with them all the time. I'd love going out with them. But through social media, I found some other people that have very similar interests as me. And so we'll all go out and all explore. So those are really fun times. They're kind of crazy like I am. So it's kind of fun to have the same level of intensity when it comes to climbing things.
Yeah. You ever go in with anybody that you're like, man, this guy's a knucklehead and he's just gonna get hurt or get somebody else hurt?
No, never. I always kind of know who will do well in the mines, and I'm very careful who I bring to them because it's pretty tough in there. Like, we're in there for hours on end, and they got to be somewhat fit, right? So,
and calm too. You don't want someone running around or screwing around or yelling or anything like that.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't want that.
No.
So I've got a question, and maybe this is going to put you on the spot, and maybe this is more kind of a philosophical question, but how has exploring mines, or how has exploring this hobby in your life made you or helped develop the person you are, if that makes sense?
Yeah. So There's been lots of times where we've been underground for a while, and my friends are kind of tired and ready to go. And in the back of my mind, I know there's like a spot that we missed. And so one time, actually, my friends were like, "All right, we're ready to go." So they started heading down the mountain earlier than I did, and I stayed in and checked out this last spot. And I was in there for maybe 20 minutes, and it was the coolest things I've ever found. So I was kind of standing up on this little ledge, and I could kind of see like a shovel kind of in the distance, and those things are pretty rare. So I went down, kind of investigated, and it was fully intact shovel. And I was like, wow, I mean, what else could be down here? So I kind of just kept going, and there was this one little 9-foot ladder that I saw, and I walked up the ladder, and staring at me right in the face was a fully intact pickaxe. And I was like, wow, this is blowing me away.
Oh,
And
cool.
From 120 years ago.
yeah, yeah, maybe from the 20s, so maybe
100 years ago.
100 years old. Yeah, so saw that pickaxe, and I was like, it kind of kept going a little bit further. And so I kept going, and just 4 fully intact dynamite boxes just sitting there. And so the one thing I can kind of take away from that is just keep going, just always keep exploring. Yeah,
Persistence.
Yeah.
persistence. Yeah,
I love that.
yeah, totally.
Yeah, there's this tenacity, almost to never die. I'm just
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
gonna go check it. I'm gonna do a full recon of this mine here.
Yeah, yeah. Always explore until you can't no further. It's just kind of something I've learned. So just kind of keep pushing until you can't, basically.
I imagine you mentioned earlier, you alluded to some of the history of some of these mines. Is that not only is it you're exploring these mines, but you're also kind of learning the history of these mines, and I imagine that's much more exciting going in and saying, hey, this used to be an old copper mine, and this is what it was. This much copper was pulled out of this mine, and it was closing this year. Like, how has learning the history of all these different mines kind of changed your whole experience?
So it's actually quite amazing. So inside these mines, the miners actually take their carbide headlamp and kind of draw on the walls. It's called miners graffiti. And so with that, they'll actually document load counts. They'll write their names, their dates, kind of instructions for the next crew. So you can actually learn a lot about the mine just going in and exploring. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. I love to hear those stories. Have you ever been in a mine where you've seen it kind of turn into like a cave? Like it's come into like a cave system as well?
There's been not very often, but sometimes we'll kind of see a little kind of cutout on the upper wall that goes through, and you can tell it's like very smooth inside. And so you can tell that it was a natural cave, but there's not that many natural caves in Nevada from what I've seen. So not very often, but occasionally, yeah.
Is that something you think you would be interested in kind of exploring into, is more of like natural caving and as well as mines?
I kind of have fallen in love with the history for mining. And so it's a little bit different in caves for me. So I really like exploring the history, kind of reading, the walls, what all the miners have written, kind of the things they've left behind, the impressive structure and architecture inside. So it's quite different than kind of your normal cave. And I really, really enjoy the history and exploring those mines. So it is a little bit different in a way.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love history. I'm a history buff. I just love hearing people's stories. And so I definitely vibe with that for sure.
Yeah.
Have you ever been up to Silver City, Nevada, which is like an hour south of Reno?
I know exactly where it is. I've driven through it. But me and my buddies do a lot of road trips, and there are a lot of us, and a lot of them are kind of hooligans. So I won't really take them into the mines, but I have a huge map of places that I would hopefully get to in the future. And Silver City is definitely one of them. I found a lot of good stuff up there. So
Yeah, it's kind of a little touristy trap place, but they got a lot of like stuff from that old mine. I mean, it was an old mining town, and so they got a lot of that old history stuff.
yeah,
And I bet
yeah,
you'd love to go through some of the museums there and really just see, hey, this stuff I see this stuff inside these mines and learn about
yeah,
how
yeah.
they did it. And my wife and I went down there once, and we got to go through one of the mines. It was a short one, but it was just a guided tour, but it was really cool. And I think that you should check it out. It would be something right up your alley.
Yeah, no, totally. I have hundreds of locations marked, so it'll take a while to kind of get through all of them. I have a lot of kind of cool locations that, yeah, lots of bucket list places and all that kind of cool stuff.
You got nothing but time ahead of you.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
what kind of interaction? I know you post a lot to social medias and Instagram and TikTok, and you have YouTube channel that you said you're kind of getting back into. What kind of feedback do you get from people on your explorations? What do people say about it?
I have kind of a wide variety of opinions on there. Social media is never face to face, right? So people will kind of just say whatever they want, and yeah, they'll say a lot of things that they think they know when it's really not true. But there's also a lot of people on there that are very curious, and a lot of people that really want to learn about the history and kind of see more of what I do. And that's kind of who I target to. And I always respond to those comments. I love kind of teaching people kind of what they want to know. And so it's pretty satisfying when I'm able to do that. So
Are there any like comments that you get that just like repeatedly, it's just like, why do people keep asking me this? That you want to just like dispel like the mystery around it, or respond to any of those comments?
It's crazy because like these posts, I have probably like 20 of the same questions asked on these posts. Like these people could literally just go in the comments and scroll down just, a couple of times, and they'll be able to find the answer, of course. Right.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Well, that's awesome, man. I love that. You said that you were going to school right now, or are you going to university, or I'm curious what you're going to ask that to see. I'm curious what lies ahead of you. I mean, like, how is this work that you're doing now, this kind of hobby slash, I don't know if you could say it's more than a hobby, but where do you think this is going to take you in your future, or compared to what you're doing right now?
Yeah, so I'll be taking a couple classes this coming semester in Phoenix. One of them actually being geology. So I've never taken geology before. I know kind of the basics of what I see, the veins in these mines, but not nearly enough. So this coming year, I'm super excited. I'll be taking geology, kind of learning more about kind of what they look for and how things actually like work. And so I'll be taking that. I'll actually be taking digital photography as well. So I'll be ramping up the quality of photos significantly. So that's super excited. And I'll be going into web design, hopefully at ASU. I haven't really decided yet. I'm kind of one of those people where I kind of really don't know what I want to do yet with my life, because I'm still 20 years old, right? So still trying to figure things out, but web design kind of takes my interest. So hopefully kind of get into that later and maybe implement some of the things that I have learned through mine exploring and kind of mash them together.
You know what, dude? If it's any advice from a 34-year-old guy, I still don't know exactly what I want to do in this life. I think Ethan would echo the same sentiment. I think, for me, I came across something the other day. Some person on social media was talking about a multi-passionate person, and I feel like that's really what describes me, and it may describe you as well, from what I can tell. Is that they just have passions in so many different things that to pigeonhole myself into one thing is just, it feels like I don't feel fulfilled just doing one thing. So that's why Ethan and I do this podcast, aside from our day jobs, and we do so many other things. But I see that in you too. Like, don't feel bad that you don't know exactly what you want to do with your life. Just keep following your passions.
Yeah. So super. Yeah, super excited to see what comes out of this because I have no idea. It could be something life changing. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I admire too. I mean, I'm sure it's like, I mean, it's time consuming, right? I'm sure it
Yeah.
takes time to research these mines and to go out there and everything else, and so even just to get the motivation to go out into the wilderness and like take action is just really admirable in and of itself. So,
Yeah.
um,
You ever taken a
you know,
girlfriend down in the mines?
yeah,
She kind of doesn't really like it very much. So we'll have to see. I might have to pull her in one time.
Awesome.
that's funny. Well, Owen, one thing we always ask our guests on the podcast, and a creed is a set of beliefs or principles that guides someone's actions in their lives. And I was wondering if you would maybe share a little bit of your own personal creed. It could be a quote or a lifestyle or a scripture or whatever else it might be, something that
Yep.
helps you or guides you to do the things that you do.
Yeah. So kind of like I kind of mentioned earlier, kind of that story where I stayed the extra 20 minutes and found those amazing things where if I would have left, I would have never been able to see them. And so I guess kind of my quote would be just always explore until you can't no further. You never know what's hiding behind that corner. And so flip every stone and keep pushing and keep going.
Yeah, I totally feel that. Just exploring in all things in life, whether that be,
Yep.
in any passion that you have, just keep going. And who knows,
Yep.
maybe around that next corner, or maybe you're just on the precipice of finding something really cool or achieving something really great. So if we give up too
exactly.
soon, sometimes we might lose out on those opportunities or those great finds in life because we're scared to do something hard or to keep sticking with something.
Yeah, totally.
And one thing that I like too is you get this mentality in life sometimes where, or at least it happens to me, is I get this what if in my mind, and it's like, well, what if I would have pushed myself harder, or what if I would have ran that extra mile, or what if I would have gone around that next corner. And for me, that's almost like a driving force to keep going on things and to say, even whenever things get tough, I'm tired, I see the next corner and I'm like, what if there's something really cool around the corner?
Yeah.
And sometimes you get to the corner and you turn and there is something really cool. Sometimes you get to the corner and you turn and it's just a rock wall and you're like, oh, that's not really that cool. But
Yeah.
at least I know in my mind I'm a little more settled to say, at least I know I don't have to what if.
Yeah.
At least I'm satisfied with my push, and my effort and what I did. And I think that can be applied to, not just mines, but really anything that you do in your life. And so I really like what you were saying, just, don't give up, keep pushing until the end.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I think it's kind of the hardest thing to do. One of the hardest things to do in life is just to push on and see where it takes you. And a lot of people miss out, unfortunately, on amazing things where they just don't push that corner. And I'm trying my best to explore every part of that mine, right? Try and find everything. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Owen, can you tell our listeners where to find you? And I think you also said you had a special promo code for some of our listeners.
Sure. So you can find me on Instagram and TikTok under the name KennerUnderground, as well as my YouTube, actually. And for my 3D virtual mind scans, my website is vrminds.com. And for this podcast, we have a special promo code. It's all lowercase. It is Creed 2022. And you save $3 off the mind scan, which is actually 50% off.
Oh, nice.
So hopefully a couple of you guys can explore that mine, and I'd love to hear everyone's thoughts on everything. So I always love the feedback.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you. We appreciate that. Yeah, that'd be so Creed, all lowercase 2022. For those, you can go to vrminds.com, right?
Yep.
And check out that awesome mine that he scanned. It's really cool. So go check it out.
As well as all the, I mean, there's tons of content on Instagram and TikTok as well, and just pictures that things that we've talked about today, and things that you've captured and put up there. Really cool stuff.
Yeah.
Well, Owen, we're definitely following you, and we'd love to keep in touch with you, and love to follow your journey, and hope to maybe have you back on one day when you really see that mine and the ghost in the mine, I should say. or you come back on. You come back on and tell us about the second set of adventures that you've had, and how things have been going. So, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate you coming on, and it's been great.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. This is actually the first podcast I've ever done, so a little nervous at first, but I think it was pretty awesome.
You did great, man. Thank you so much. And to our listeners out there, let's build that creed together.
All right, let's do it.
Thanks.